So, by the way, just so you guys know, this is like the best conference logo ever. Like, seriously, all the other conferences, it's like a mountain or an eagle or I don't know, a summit, you know? And this is just a big, beautiful purple green cow, and it's awesome. So I'm so pumped to be here. Brett, the co-founder and CEO of News Story, if you want to give us a quick little follow. And we're a tech-based nonprofit that crowdfunds houses and turns slums into sustainable communities. And we're trying to shake things up in the nonprofit sector. And so I'll get into a little bit of this. But you might be thinking that I'm going to talk about how News Story is trying to change the world. But I'm not. I want to talk about how a few unlikely people came together to build a fast-growing startup, and how you guys can too. And it's going to be 3 parts. The first is a little bit of my backstory, and then News Story's journey, and then your story, with one convicting question and framework at the end of the talk that will make any decision of whether to start or innovate something so easy. And threaded throughout the talk is just 3 super practical lessons that we've learned and really applied to what you guys are doing. So we're going to start with my story, and we're going to go to September 1989 when I dropped into this world. When I was born, I hit the jackpot on day 1. Born into a nice, comfortable home, great parents. I had all the talent and opportunity given to me on day 1. Even though I wish I had a little more basketball talent, but that's okay. And it took me about 24 years to realize that not everybody in the world is born with the same opportunity. And so growing up, like through high school and college, and a little bit after school, I did not live what you might think a charity CEO lives like. Okay, it's quite the opposite. So I cared about what I call the 3 Gs, and it's not generosity, gratitude, and God. It's more like girls, gold, and glory. And some of you were like, that's what I'm talking about. And so I lived my life like this and quickly realized that I needed a bigger purpose. You know, there had to be a bigger purpose to life than this. And for me, that was a revived Christian faith, which just changed my heart and sent me out on a path to try to make an actual difference in the world. And that led me down to the poorest country on this hemisphere, Haiti. First time going down there in the developing world. No, this is not a tailgate for the Nebraska football game. This is a tent slum where families are living because of the 2010 earthquake. And I got to go and see it and feel it and smell it. And the numbers, you know, I think it's like 1 million people were displaced. And statistics like, 33% of kids in some areas face child abduction or child abuse because they're living in a tent with no safety. And, but those are just numbers, right? So things got real for me when I had a chance to go meet kids living there. And this is Sashu. She's 4 years old, born into this tent slum. And maybe why I said that I hit the jackpot registers a little bit more now. So she faces dangers like child abduction and sex trafficking and no chance of a sustained education, no chance of sustained health care. And then I went and saw her neighbors. Her neighbors, at night when it rains, mud and sewage just rushes through the floor, and the kids have to stand up at night because they normally sleep on the floor for 5 years. It's so hot in here that people have literally gone blind over the years because it's a humid hotbox. And this is the last one. I understand if it's a little uncomfortable, but this is what I saw. This is a mother with an 11-day-old baby. And I walked in, and it was kind of the first time in my life where I saw this, and my heart just like dropped. The baby's living out of a trash can. And I thought, no matter how intelligent or talented this baby is, there's no opportunity. And so our team decided to do something about this. And we wanted to create a news story here. And so here's a little snapshot of what that looks like when we take kids out of a slum and bring them into one of our communities. And we were founded in December of 2014, so about 16 months ago. And I want to tell you a little bit of how our co-founding team came together, because I'm like the luckiest CEO to do life with these guys. And so here's my team, my co-founders. We've basically, the makeup is kind of 2 frat boys, or former frat boys, because we're better now for the most part, a tech nerd, Alexandria, who's the smartest girl I know, and I met Matthew, and Matthew's not a nerd, he's probably watching right now, sorry, I didn't mean that one. I met Matthew, who we actually call the owl, because of his glasses, and MacGyver, because he can literally fix anything. I met Matthew when I asked him to build our very first landing page, which was so awful, about 16 months ago. And then I met Alexandria when I was speaking at a social entrepreneurship event. Not like this, more like 5 people and really bad pizza. And that's how we met. That's how we met. And we came together to form this crazy, big, audacious vision. I'm just kidding. We came together to try to fund one house in the beginning. One house. A house like this for only $6,000 per home. And this is the actual family, the first one that moved in. And this was probably one of the best days of my life because it was so counter the life that I had been living, and it was just indescribably better than anything else that I could ever get for myself or else that I used to get. And our team was down there for the very first one, and we became obsessed with the cause because we could go into the tent slum and we could see people, like kids living in this slum, and then we could have the power to take them out and create a new story. And so the first lesson is to think big, but start small. Like, try to do for one what you wish you could do for everybody. Because you probably can't change the world, but you can for damn sure change somebody's world or one family's world. And that's how we started. And it turns out that when you start small, you get a little bit bigger. And then you get a little bit bigger. And this is the finished product of our first community, a 151 home community where we took that number. Thank you. Thank you. So that number, 151 homes, is significant because that's the number of families that were living in that tent slum I showed you earlier. They had been living in there for 5 years. And our team, our supporters, got them out of that and into this brand new, beautiful community, literally creating a new story in that part of the world. And we believe, our thesis is that homes are the foundation for a community. And a thriving community can shape the society. And so we curate partners to bring in a school, clean drinking water, healthcare, business training so families can earn income. Our communities become self-sustaining, and then they no longer need charity. This is how we think about it. So all of our infrastructure is built by local workers that we hire and train, and we also source all local materials. We believe education is obviously paramount to unlocking opportunity. So there's a school in all of our places. And apparently we've unlocked a little boy's crush on his classmate, as you can see here. And if you ask our team, like, why are we doing this? You know, why are a bunch of young kids doing this? And it's not to build homes. It's to unlock opportunity. It means for kids like this, literally all around the world, that are born with so much talent, with so much God-given intelligence, but they don't have opportunity. So if we can give them that opportunity, that's gonna not only allow them to reach their dreams and achieve their potential, but it's gonna have multiplier effects on other people that they meet. And imagine this, if you do that for a whole community of kids, that is how you change a society. I mean, we literally believe that we're gonna go out and find the next Nelson Mandela. Like, it might be this kid, he kind of looks like he could do it. Or we might find the next Nebraska quarterback. You know, like, I don't know, but people are out there to be unlocked. And that's what our team is on fire to do. And so we've now expanded. We're in Central America, Central America, South America. And now I want to change the talk a little bit to talk about how we think about this thing called charity. And so this is kind of where the innovation comes in a little bit. So our co-founders, we never thought that we'd start a charity. I personally had a lot of frustrations with charity, mainly that it was kind of old, a lack of innovation, it was untrustworthy. I mean, because I'm used to companies like Airbnb and Warby Parker, like cool brands with really good experiences. And then I'd go to a charity And I would see this over and over. You don't know who you're helping. You don't know where your money goes. The design standards, the creative standard is like a 1 out of 10. And like, look, I know these people have great hearts. I'm not bashing them. But this is the status quo of the experience and what it looks like. And then you see stuff like this. In search of the fill in the blank with the name $1 million relief. And then, oh, special investigation report. Where'd the money go? And this stuff gets old. And I understand why people get skeptical. Because I was skeptical. Our team was skeptical. I mean, where's the accountability? Where's the transparency? Where's the innovation? Where's the tech-based solutions? Where's the level of excellence? You know, we believe that it's not that people don't want to help other people. They just don't know who to trust. And so if we were going to do this, we had to create a better model than what was out there. And so we set out to do that in 3 ways to start. So the first was we built an online crowdfunding platform that would literally connect everybody in this room to the exact families that need help. So you can meet them, you can see their story, and then you can give directly to them. And then, really simple, 100% of your donation goes to the exact family's home construction that you see. So you never have to wonder where your money goes. We have small private donors that cover our overhead. And then the last part, which is my favorite part, we close the loop on the experience. And so when every family that moves into their new home, we take a move-in video of them getting their keys, their home certificate, an interview. I mean, this is a big day for them, guys. You want to talk about joy? This is joy. And we capture it, and we send it back to every single person that made it happen, so you can see the direct results of your impact. And you know, we continue to build products and to try to take it a step further. This is, you know, showing progress along the way. And then once the family's in the home, we collect impact data and we send it back and we deploy it to you with a great user experience, with a great user interface, a product that looks like the other products that you're used to having. And how did we think of all this stuff? Our first business plan was 4 words. It wasn't, oh, how are we going to expand to Africa? Or what's the market size? Or what's a 501c3? Like, that stuff comes later. The first business plan was to make something that people want. It was to take our pains and our frustrations and do the opposite of those. And it turns out that when you do that, that's how you started to grow. And so the next phase for our story is we got accepted into Y Combinator last summer. I think you guys are pretty familiar with the program. It's regarded as the top accelerator in the world. Airbnb, Dropbox, Stripe, to name a few, have gone through here. There's about a 1% chance acceptance rate. Sorry, 1% acceptance rate. And I have a story because it's the next key lesson. So I'll be the first one to tell you that I'm definitely not the most qualified person on paper, especially around this group. I mean, you've got Wharton grads, Harvard MBAs, NASA scientists, Oxford PhDs, and I'm like, hey guys, I went to Florida State University, like go Knowles, you know? And so not the most qualified person on paper, but what I have and what my team has, my team's way smarter than me, we had the will to prepare. And I firmly believe that the will to prepare is greater than the will to succeed. It means how much you prepare for your talk, for your meeting, for your deck, for whatever it is, how bad you want something is manifested in how much you prepare. And the story that we have is when we applied to this accelerator, Y Combinator, there was 6,000 startups around the world that applied. And they took the top 300 of those and invited them to come to Mountain View for a 10-minute interview. And then they would finally pick the final 100. So when we got the first call that we got the interview, first we freaked out, obviously, but then we got to work. Our team spent well over 100 hours preparing for a 10-minute interview. We were incredibly prepared, incredibly confident. And this is what it looks like when that pays off. So this is me getting the acceptance call, crying on the owl's shoulder, like a little baby. And ever since then, it's been a story of growth. And so once we got into Y Combinator last summer, this is what we did during the summer there. Compared to the big player in our space, the model that we were trying to disrupt, as they were working close to us in an area in Haiti, In 91 days, we did 100 homes. In 5 years, they did 6 homes. We did this because of the new transparent and accountable model that we created. And as I'm standing here today, 16 months from that very first home, this is where we're at. Over 300 homes, over $3 million in donation revenue from that $6,000 home 16 months ago, and 3 communities that we are building around the world. And thank you. And thank you. And now our vision, which we wholeheartedly believe, is that we will build 1,000 of these communities around the world by 2026, literally unlocking potential all around the world. And how did this start? How did this vision start? One house. It started with our team coming together and committing to actually do something, to actually do this, and do it in a way that we thought was better than the way that we had seen. And so what I want to just reiterate is to think big. Like, yes, have your big, hairy, audacious goal. Yes, have a big vision. Yes, but start small. You know, I mean, if you want to build the best, I don't know, restaurant in the world, start with one and have a line out the door. If you want to bring internet to every single person on the planet, start at one college. That's a real story. It's Facebook. And I mean, like, what's could be your one house? You know, like what's the first thing that you could do to start small? And after you start small, how you get it to grow is this, which is very counterintuitive. In the beginning, you have to do things that don't scale. See, people think that a good idea or startups just take off. No. Founders make startups take off. The Airbnb guys, okay? When they were getting started, they would fly from San Francisco to New York City almost every week to take photos of the listings so that they could improve the photography so they would convert better on their site. That doesn't scale. Stripe, $1 billion credit card processing company now. Want to know how they got their first users? They had an iPad, and they went around and relentlessly signed people up on the spot. And news story, our version of this is that we launched around Christmas time. So obviously a good time for charity, for giving, all that great stuff, right? And we wanted to launch as soon as possible. But we didn't have the time, the resources, or the money to build like a fancy technology crowdfunding platform, right? So what did we do? We faked it. We faked the whole thing. The whole thing we faked. We literally had a bunch of different landing pages with mock-ups. And when somebody donated, we would, on our end, we would move this crowdfunding meter from here to, I think it's about right there. And I would be on my phone calculating the percentages. I messed up all the time. People would email or call in and be like, hey, didn't see my donation update yet. No problem, Johnny. It's just the credit card processing. Takes a little bit of time. Meanwhile, the owl and I are like scrambling to like update it. And that's how you can start. And all that takes is effort. And so you do that. You do things that don't scale so that you can make something people want and then scale it. And so the last part I have is your story. And it's just one question. And before I ask it, I would challenge you to, for the next minute, like try to pull yourself out of the weeds right now, like out of your year-end bonus, out of 2016. And I'm going to ask you to project yourself to be 80 years old. So like literally like in your mind for a second, like become 80 years old. And you're looking back on your life at the decisions that you've made. And you ask the question, would I regret not trying that thing in my heart that I think I should do? If I fail, that's okay. That's okay, because I took a swing. But if I get to the end and I didn't try that thing, would I regret? And if the answer is a convicting yes, then it's the easiest decision that you can make. And so I would just, I hope that you'd have the courage to do that, to use your opportunity and talent to go make something happen and you can start by just thinking big and starting small. And so that's what I got for the talk. The last thing is that if you want to get involved with News Story, we would love to have this incredible community to join us. I mean, we're an early stage startup. 3 main ways is one, you could sponsor a home for only $6,000, maybe with your family. You could give up your birthday, where you do a birthday campaign and you ask for donations instead of gifts. Or your team, maybe. You guys could come together and do a crowdfunding campaign to try to do a home or a couple homes. And to do that, you can go to this link. It's just newsstorycharity.org/Omaha. You can just go right now on your phones or your computers, and you can pledge what you want to do to get involved, and then we'll follow up with you guys, and I promise we'll remind you. So that's all I got. Thank you so much for having me. Super grateful to be here.
Brett, awesome.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks. Good time. Oh, okay. Oh, man. Getting some love here, my man. I'm glad you took the risk.
Yeah.
Hey, Brett, that was awesome. By the way, again, the mics are open if you guys have questions, but, it was really, really fun to see you obviously transition. I love the quote where you said, I needed a greater purpose.
Yeah.
And how fun has it been for you now to invite other people around you into that same compelling,
Yeah.
Because as I get caught up in the story, I get to be a part of what happened in you.
Yeah. I'm just incredibly inspired by it because I've been on both sides. It's like I didn't grow up like this. I never thought that I would start a charity.
Yep.
And I went out for most of my life and tried to get all those things that I mentioned, like the gold, girls, and glory.
Yep.
And I got all that.
Yep.
And now it's this. And I can't even describe how much better and more fulfilling it is.
Yep.
And so, it fires me up to try to tell that to other people.
Yep. Well, I want to ask another question since nobody's on the mics, but one of the things I went to South Africa in Kailicha. There's a township where there's 1 million people living in houses just like that, and I remember walking out of there, and your quote of talent is finish that quote. Talent. Everybody has talent. Not everybody has opportunities.
Talent is universal.
Yep.
So everyone in the world is born with some type of talent.
Yep.
Right. But opportunity is not.
Yep.
So not everybody in the world has opportunity.
That's right.
So how do you balance that?
Exactly. And so I walked out of there having, bought some meals and did some basic things for a time period, but feeling so overwhelmed by the level of poverty, you have no idea what steps to do.
Yeah.
And so when you hear about something like this, I feel like you've given people a pathway to help do that. So really cool.
Kind of what I reiterated today is I really love this idea of doing for one what you wish you could do for everyone. Because it's really easy to get caught up in big numbers and get overwhelmed and just say, I don't know if I could do anything because it's so big. But it's no, you can do for one. And then our story is we did for one, and then we did for 5, and then we did, kind of kept growing. But
Yeah, very, very cool. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Byron Abrick, and first off, I just wanted to say thank you very much for coming and speaking today. I had not heard of News Story coming into today, but your story was really an inspiration to me today. Something that really connected with me is I've kind of been feeling that same, I'd say, over the last year about wanting my life to really have more of a purpose than I think oftentimes we're taught in business schools. So one thing that you had mentioned about how your faith has really played a role, I wanted to know if you could touch a little bit more on kind of how that impacted your transition into what you're doing now.
Yeah, great question. So I would say before, I was always a very ambitious person, but it was what I call selfish ambition. So just all for me, right? When I decided to become a Christian, it turned into selfless ambition, where now I was still incredibly ambitious, but it was to help other people and to love other people and to actually make a real difference, because that's what I saw when when I read the New Testament, and so that's what it's been like.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Brett. My name is Kat Slump. I currently work at Flywheel here in Omaha, and I'm really curious about your experience with Y Combinator.
Yep.
What was the main thing your team learned, and was your model like you described before you went into Y Combinator, or did it change a little bit after?
Good question. So no, our model, the basics of it, our model is you get to see who you're helping up front, 100% goes to who you see, and then you get a follow-up video of that impact. So that stayed the same. Like we've made a bunch of different product changes, but the main thing that Y Combinator did was I'll share this story real quick. So when you get there, they make you pick like one goal at the end of your time there. That's like, it could be one metric, whatever it is. And it's supposed to be like this big metric, you know? And ours, when we told them, we said, hey, ours is gonna be 50 homes, which for us was like a really big number because we only done like 10 until then.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, so you're gonna do 100 homes. And I'm like, I have no idea how to do that, like literally no idea. But when you find yourself in that position of feeling unqualified or feeling like you can't do it, it makes you think, okay, if I had to do that, like no BS, if I had to do that, what would it take to do it? And then it changes your whole mindset of the things that you have to do. And so to answer your question, they challenge you and they push you and they make you think like that, which is really kind of got into the DNA of our company now.
Really, really cool. Well, that's it. No more questions. I want to ask you one question. In Haiti, how are you finding and selecting communities that you want to be a part of?
Yeah. So we use a local partner model where we find the absolute best local partners that have been there for like 20 years, right? They built tons of relationships with the government, all these great things that like would take me forever to do, right?
Yeah.
And so to answer your question, we find those best ones, the best partner, and then we identify one specific like slum area that we could come in and say, okay, let's call it 200 families, right? 200 families, we literally make a list. We do a lottery, make a list, and then we fund those families as soon as possible, and then there has to be land nearby, because the problem is you don't want to like build a new village or a new town that's like 20 miles away.
Right.
You know, that's happened before and people leave. So it has to be close.
Yep.
And so those things all have to kind of come together to make it happen.
Make it work. Awesome, awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. Do you have people on the ground in Haiti to shoot those videos? Or how do you close the back loop, as you said?
It's a good question. So when we were starting this, people told me like, oh, dude, don't do videos. Like, you'll never scale that. You know, like that can never be scaled. And I'm like, okay, it's not going to be like the highest production video, but everybody has a phone and we could give them an iPad. And when they move into the new home, they would take a video of it and they'll send it back to us. And then we'll send it out. Like it wasn't rocket science. Right. So yeah, we have people that we train on the ground, a really simple protocol, and that's how we do it.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Big O, can you guys give him? Oh, you got a question? Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I just have a quick question. I'm just curious. How is the security like in these groups of homes that you guys build? Not being familiar with the culture or what you do, it's a question I thought of.
Yeah, it goes back to where we choose to put these, right? So I'm not going to make the decision to put it in like an extremely violent or volatile place. Yeah. So it goes to like where the location is, what's the history there, what's the risk profile of there. That's how we assess it, and then we put our neck on the line after the due diligence that we've done. Because we want like all into this, but like our whole thing is we call them sustainable communities. So we're not trying to build like temporary refugee camps. Like we really believe that these communities will be there for the next 50, hopefully 100 years. Yeah. So in choosing those places, we really want to try our best to pick a safer spot.
Yep. That's awesome, awesome. Hey, Big O, can you guys thank Brett for coming today? That was awesome work. Fun to see you say yes, man.
Thanks for taking a risk.
Incredible, man.